Test.
Welcome into the Commanders Report live show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Thank you to everybody tuning in around the world, ready to talk some Commanders football here on a beautiful Wednesday evening. We've got 4 segments of Commanders coverage coming your way here over the next hour and a half or so. First up, we're going to get into the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. There's been multiple big-name players that are being linked to the Burgundy and Gold before NFL free agency. I'll let you guys know all the latest rumblings surrounding this football team. Then the Commanders got some huge salary cap news today that you guys are going to want to hear, because I think that Adam Peters is about to get in his bag during this offseason. Let me tell you that right now. And then we also have my first 7-round Commanders mock draft today, Joey. Commanders mock draft 1.0 for me. 7 rounds, and I've got some pretty interesting sleepers later in that mock draft that you guys are going to want to see. And then also, we're going to finish up today's show with the weekly Commanders Report live Q&A, where I get to answer your questions on the Washington Commanders. So if you guys want to get on the show today, you guys can use hashtag Commanders, or you can super chat to guarantee your question gets on the mailbag. So here's how it works, guys. You get into the comments section, you put hashtag Commanders. Who will the Commanders take in the first round of the NFL draft? And then that will put you in the running to potentially be in the mailbag this afternoon. But if you super chat, your question guaranteed to get on the mailbag this afternoon. So without further ado, let's bring in our producer today. He's got his producer mic today, unlike last week where I had to be up here for 2 straight hours talking all by myself. Joey Petersen. Joey, good to see you. How you doing this week?
I'm good, man. I'm happy to be back. I'm glad I'm not silenced like last week, and
you've got your voice back.
I've got my voice back. I felt a little bit about like the Little Mermaid, you know?
Yeah, Ariel.
I couldn't talk.
Not as pretty of a voice. I gotta say that.
I don't know. You've never heard me sing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You do look like somebody that would be in High School Musical. Doesn't Joey look like he'd be like one of the basketball players in the background?
Was Troy Bolton?
Yeah,
in 7th grade.
No, you're not Troy Bolton. You're the extra dribbling the basketball around Troy Bolton.
Well, I was Troy Bolton when I was 13.
Good stuff, man. So shout out your city down there in the comments section. We got a bunch of Commanders fans already filing in, 126 people in the chat already. We got Cassie Voth, my girlfriend. Cassie's actually back home in Minnesota where it's like negative 30 degrees.
Wow.
It's so cold. I mean, I think I'm cold here in Texas where it's 20 degrees. I mean, that's like a nice day at the beach there in Minnesota right now. But Cassie, I miss you. Hope that everybody is doing good there in Goodhue, Minnesota. Shout out to Kyla. Shout out to everybody watching from Goodhue, Minnesota today. So who else is in here today? We've got Zebulon. Hope I'm saying that right. It says Barnesville, Minnesota. Hey, we got multiple people from Minnesota here today. We've got Jasmine Gray from Fort Washington. We've got Black King from Washington, D.C. Got Trey Tyler saying hello. We got Wendell Jefferson from D.C. Got Richard Barker from Belleville, New Jersey. Where else are we coming from today, man? Let us know. Shout out your city down there in the comments section. We'll give you guys a shout out. We got Trey Tyler from Martinsburg, West Virginia. Juan Ortelli from Delaware. Anonymous Cat from Aldi, Virginia. We've got CSX from North Carolina. Quinn is from Arlington, Virginia. We got Blair from Tampa, Florida. Kenny Lewis from Eden, North Carolina. JG's from Seattle, Washington. What I love about this community, Joey, is that just how international it is. Like, this is why this community here on the Commanders Report exists, because people that maybe don't live in D.C. or don't live in Maryland or don't live in Virginia can still talk Commanders with their fellow Commanders fans all throughout the world, and that's what we strive to do here at the Commanders Report, giving these guys an outlet to talk Commanders football.
Yeah, well, it's that big of a fan base. I think it's a testament to that, but also, you know what? It's It's just like what we do. We're not in Virginia right now. We're not in Washington, D.C. We're still talking Commanders ball all the way from enemy territory down here in Dallas, Texas.
Exactly.
And so this thing's national. This thing's worldwide. I'm blessed to be a part of it.
100%. We've got a great donation menu for you guys today. And we're going to switch it up a little bit today, guys. So we got a little bit of a tiered system. Okay, so any super chat or donation that comes in, you're going to get on the show. We're going to give you guys some love. We'll put up your question on the show. We'll get your question on the mailbag, all that stuff. But also, every $20 that we make on today's show, and it's not just $20 super chats, Joey. Every $20 we make total. So if four different people put in $5 super chats, we're going to do gummy bear shots. So big shout out to Avery, one of our coworkers here at Chat Sports, who made these kind of gummy bear jello shots. So if you guys want us to do these gummy bear shots, every $20 we make on the show today, me and Joey will each take a gummy bear. Then every $50, I will do 10 push-ups, all right? So if you guys really start spending, I'm going to get a little bit of a workout in today. $100 total today. We'll add 15 minutes to talk Commanders football at the end of the show. But if we don't get to 100 total by the end of our mailbag today, we're just going to end the show today. So if you want to get that extra 15 minutes, $100 will be the price to do that. Then $200 total, we will get one of our patented here at Chat Sports glass boots, and I will chug a boot to finish off today's show.
There we go. Right, so and if we get 400, I'll do it with you.
And again, okay, if we get 400, we'll do a boot race. But I want to make it abundantly clear. This isn't just, individual super chats, all right? If we got to work together here. It's every $20 we get together, $50 we get together, $100 we get together, all right? We're all in this together today, guys. So if you have any money to spend today on today's show, I greatly appreciate your support. You guys are the lifeblood of this channel. It's certainly not required to send in a donation, but we greatly appreciate everybody that donates to the show, just like Katana with a $1 super chat to get us going today. Everybody shout out Katana in the chat. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Let's get this show on the road right now. And while those super chats begin to file in here, let's have a word from our Hog Mafia members here. This is our super chat club here at the Commanders Report. You get a little piggy bank sticker next to your super chats for life, and you get a shout out on every single Commanders Report live show. Shout out to IQ Barbecue, Marco Gorman, Omar's Burner, Lord Buddy Bear, Luke O'Gorman, TJ, Commando Mike, James Howard, Russell Hance, Jerry Gettings, Jimmy R, Luis, John Masood, On Holiday, Robert the Redskin fan, Grandma, Christopher Turner, Lil Rob 820, Felipe Garcia, and John Gin. Is that right? There we go. I keep wanting to say Gin, but I think I got it right this time. Also, you guys can send in your donations via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. Listen, man, if you guys super chat, that's great, but YouTube does take a 30% cut of every single super chat that you guys send in. But if you send in your donation via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, we get to keep more of the proceeds, and more of your donation dollars goes towards us here at the Commanders Report. So you guys can find me at any of these addresses on any one of these financial apps. We greatly appreciate your support if you want to send in any money on there as well. I also want to plug our NFL Draft channel here at Chat Sports. Me and Tom Downey are doing a bunch of great dedicated NFL Draft content on there. I just put in my wide receiver positional rankings on a video we did yesterday. So if you want to see my top 10 list of the best wide receivers in the NFL draft, plus I got my mock draft, my first mock draft going up on that channel tomorrow. I greatly appreciate if you go to that channel and subscribe. Joey just put the link to that in the comments section. So make sure you guys click that link, subscribe to the channel if you love NFL draft content like we do here at Chat Sports. All right, we're about to get into our first segment of the day, but first I want to see all the real ones in the chat. Type those me's if you made it to the show today and you click that thumbs up icon. We already almost have 200 people watching live right now. I need to get to 50 likes. We're at 44 likes. We're 6 likes away. Can we get to 50 likes before we get into this first segment, guys? I see Jasmine Gray is here. I see Kenny Lewis is here. I see JG is here. John Masood is here. What's up, John? We got Dreyer. We got Mike W. We got Sean Taylor. We've got Dreyer, we got Richard Barker, and it looks like we got to 50 likes there, Joey. So without further ado, let's get it going right now. Who's going to get us to our first $20 today so that me and you can take a couple of gummy bear shots? Who's going to get us to that first 20? Hopefully that 20 comes in here during our first segment. But without further ado, let's get into the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. Today on the Commanders Report, I'm going to be breaking down the latest Commanders trade and free agency rumors. There's lots of big names in the National Football League that are starting to get linked to Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, and the Burgundy and Gold in free agency and on the trade markets. We're just under a month away from the start of NFL free agency. It's coming up so quickly right now, guys. So without further ado, let's get into the content. But first, make sure you guys stay tuned for some exciting news. I got some exciting news that I want to talk about at the end of today's show, so make sure you guys stick around to the end of the video to see what that is. And don't forget to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Every single big move the Commanders make this offseason, we're going to have a video breaking it down for you guys, and we're even going to be going live for some of the bigger news. If they trade for Myles Garrett, if they trade for Cooper Kupp, if they make another kind of big move, we're going to be going live for that, guys. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Join us here at the Commanders Report. Over 36,000 people have already clicked that subscribe button. We're one of the fastest growing channels here at Chat Sports. In fact, right now, I think we are the fastest growing channel in the entire company right now. That's all because of your guys' support. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already to continue our historical run here on the Commanders Report. Okay, first up, let's talk some cornerbacks because I think this is obviously a position that we all acknowledge the Washington Commanders need to address. Now, whether that's nickel corner or outside corner kind of depends on how you feel about Mike Sainristil and whether or not you want him to stay on the outside or kick back into the slot. But an outside cornerback option that looks like he's going to be made available is Jaire Alexander. ESPN's Rob Demovsky, who covers the Packers for that platform there, reports that there is a quote-unquote strong indication that Green Bay is going to cut Jaire this offseason. And on paper, I think that he's an excellent fit for what the Washington Commanders want to do defensively. Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., they love their physical outside corners that love to play press, all that great stuff. And Alexander, that's what he thrives in. He's a physical man corner, super good in press coverage, all these different things. Honestly, reminds me a lot of Marshon Lattimore. Now, he is getting a little bit older, 28 years old. But the real kicker here, guys, is the injuries. He hasn't played more than 7 games in 3 of those last 4 seasons. A couple of years ago, he got to 16 games. But other than that, he played like a couple seasons with 7 games played, and then he had 1 season where he only played 4. So he has a lot of injuries on kind of his rap sheet, especially recently, and I can certainly understand why the Green Bay Packers would want to move off of Jaire Alexander. And because of the injury history, because of all the different things surrounding his profile, I would personally pass on signing Jaire Alexander this offseason because he will be an expensive asset that the Commanders would have to spend a considerable chunk of their cap space this offseason on, and I would rather use that cap space on other things, some more sure things. I want to make sure that the players the Commanders spend their money on are actually on the field. And honestly, Marshon Lattimore, very similar type of corner. Don't know if you want 2 kind of Lattimore clones on the same defense necessarily. I think the person that I would rather get is Asante Samuel Jr., where Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox says that the Commanders should pursue him, and I kind of agree. I think that Samuel's a really, really good player, kind of an underrated player, and I think he'd be an excellent fit here in Washington. This is what Knox had to say about this fit. Samuel has performed extremely well in pass coverage in the past few years. He allowed an opposing passer rating of 87.4 in coverage last season and has allowed an opposing passer rating below 100 in all 4 of his pro seasons. Samuel has a lot of talent, and he also has connections to the Commanders' coaching staff. The Commanders should also take a look at the 25-year-old. Washington relied on a lot of older vets in 2024 and should now be looking to add younger pieces to the puzzle. Defensive backs coach Tom Donatel also served as the Chargers secondary coach in 2023. And honestly, guys, I kind of really like the fit between the Washington Commanders and Asante Samuel Jr. Plus, not only is he pretty darn good as an outside corner in coverage, but I think another perk to this signing is that he can also play in the slot. So, let's say, Mike Sainristil, God forbid, gets hurt and you need somebody to go replace him in the slot. I think that Samuel's somebody that could end up doing that, especially if you draft another outside kind of corner in the NFL draft this year. So I think Samuel's a really good player. He's going to be cheaper, I think, than Jaire Alexander is going to be. Now, right now, Pro Football Focus projects a 3-year, $14.5 million per season contract for Samuel. So he won't be necessarily cheap. He is a good starter. But I think that the risks aren't quite as high as a guy like Jaire Alexander. But I will say the upside with Alexander would be there, which might be a reason why somebody might rather go get him. So pick a corner for me down there in the comments section. Type JA for Jaire Alexander or AS for Asante Samuel Jr. Which one would you rather put in a Commanders uniform next year? Let me know down there in the comments section. For today's pinned comment. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about a great deal from our friends at Fanatics. And while I'm talking about our sponsor today, make sure you go down there, find that pinned comment at the top of the comment section, and let me know which corner you would rather have in burgundy and gold next year. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. And you guys can get this awesome Washington Commanders t-shirt on sale on their website right now to help us out here at the Commanders Report. When you click our link, chatsports.com/Commanders shirt, and you make a purchase, Fanatics sends us part of the proceeds, and that helps us buy new equipment. That helps us improve our graphics. That helps improve our office space. Everything that we put into this channel to give you guys the best Commanders content money can buy 100% free is because you guys go to these Fanatics links and you guys make these purchases. So if you want a brand new Commanders shirt in your closet today, I think that this is a pretty stylish one and it's on sale right now on Fanatics. You guys can go to chatsports.com/Commanders shirt to get this t-shirt in your closet today. So now let's get into the wide receiver group. We talked about the perimeter on defense. Let's go into the perimeter on offense now because wide receiver is a need for the Commanders this offseason. And, I think it was fun while it lasted, thinking of T. Higgins in a Commanders uniform with Jaden Daniels throwing in the football alongside Terry McLaurin. But we learned this week that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to probably put the franchise tag on Higgins, which I think really puts a damper on the chances that he ends up in Washington. Now, technically, the Commanders could still trade for him. All right, like if Cincinnati is going to trade Higgins away instead of signing him to a long-term deal, I think it will be to an NFC team like the Commanders. And honestly, the Commanders might be among the top names in the top, betting favorites to get Higgins if they do end up shopping him. But I think at the end of the day, they're franchise tagging him because they're trying to buy themselves more time to come to a long-term deal. Joe Burrow has certainly been advocating for the team to give him a long-term contract as well. And, but even if he was made available by the Bengals guys, I would pass because he's going to be extremely, extremely expensive. You're going to have to give up a really high draft pick because he's a really good player, and then you're going to have to give him a brand new contract as well. At the very minimum, you're going to have to pay him on the franchise tag, which is not something I'm interested in because this team is going to be paying Terry McLaurin a lot of money when they give him that massive contract extension this offseason. So I'd rather only pay one receiver big time money. I wouldn't want to pay two of those guys at top of market rates. So personally, I don't think T. Higgins is a possibility for the Washington Commanders. But somebody that I think is a possibility is Cooper Kupp. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler highlighted earlier this week that Washington was the top trade destination for Mr. Kupp. This is what he had to say on ESPN earlier this week. Talking to people around the league, Kupp will have a market because he's so quarterback friendly. Certainly Washington is looking for a complimentary number 2 receiver, and he's, of course, is 100% right about that. And, I wouldn't mind Cooper Kupp in a Washington Commander uniform at all, especially if the team plans on drafting a future number 1 caliber type of receiver in the NFL draft. Kupp is no longer a true number 1, but I think he's a really reliable number 2. I still think he's a good route runner. Still think that he's a good run blocker. I still think he's a really good teammate and leader inside the locker room. So I think that he would be a fine addition to this Washington Commanders group. I think that with all the different creative ways that Cliff Kingsbury likes to use some of his offensive weapons, he can certainly do that with a versatile weapon like Cooper Kupp, who can play on the outside and specializes in the slot. I just hope that the Washington Commanders don't overpay for him, both in terms of the cap hit in 2025 and in terms of the trade capital if they do end up trading for him. I really hope they don't trade a third-round pick for him or something crazy like that. And then, I really hope they don't pay him the $20 million against the cap that he is currently slated to make with the Los Angeles Rams this season. So I just hope that if they do acquire Cooper Kupp, they're doing it in a way that makes financial sense for the Washington Commanders. But at the end of the day, he would be a perfectly fine fit with this football team. But if you're asking me, in terms of kind of the versatile chess piece, wide receiver type weapon that would be the ideal fit for the Washington Commanders this year, look no further than Chris Godwin, the Tampa Bay Buccaneer wide receiver that just came off of a knee dislocation this past year. Very serious injury, but he was having a phenomenal season last year with the Bucs before he got injured. One of the best yard after the catch type of receivers in the league. Short yardage kind of guy, and then he really turns short gains, like passes that are close to the line of scrimmage, and he turns those into big plays by making guys miss, being really smart with his rush lanes, all these different things. He understands how the blockers are forming in front of him. Really has good instincts out there. He is 28 years old, so he's not a young buck anymore, but he just came off a season where he looked like one of the best receivers in football. I also know he's coming off that injury, but hey, I think that should be able to drive his price tag down a little bit this offseason as well, which would benefit the Washington Commanders. Godwin specializes in the slot, but can play outside, similar to Cooper Kupp. And I think he'd be a perfect complementary piece to Terry McLaurin here in the Washington Commanders offense, of course, helmed by soon-to-be second-year quarterback Jayden Daniels. Right now, Pro Football Focus projects Godwin's contract at 3 years, $20 million per season. And honestly, guys, I think that's an absolute steal. I really do. You look at guys like Justin Jefferson making $35 million per season. I think Jamar Chase is going to get somewhere close to $38 million or even $40 million this offseason with the increased cap number in the National Football League this year. So $20 million for a guy as good as Chris Godwin to be a really, really good complementary piece in this system, I think would be an absolute slam dunk home run for the Burgundy and Gold. So you be the GM for me down there in the comments section. Would you pay Godwin $20 million per season to be this team's number 2 receiver alongside Terry McLaurin? I certainly would. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Give me a yes or a no to let me know your thoughts. That'll be it before I go here, 2 last items here that I want to discuss with you guys before I say goodbye for the day. The first one is that the Commanders have hired Jesse Madden. Yes, that Madden. He is the grandson of the great John Madden. And, I think it's kind of interesting that they're bringing him in. I think he comes to us from Michigan. He's a former player. He just kind of got done playing. He's not playing anymore. He didn't get his chance to play in the National Football League, but obviously with his connections, his family ties, it certainly seems like he's getting his opportunity here. He's going to be an offensive quality control coach here at the Washington Commanders. So congratulations to Jesse on getting the job here in Washington. And then the final thing that I want to talk about, and this was the exciting news I was alluding to earlier in the show, guys. Just take a look at this beautiful stadium design, man, because this is the officially proposed design stadium for the new Washington Commanders Stadium at the RFK site in Washington, D.C. And Joey is rolling through all the photos here of this new stadium right now, and just look how beautiful this new stadium design looks. It's going to be overlooking the National Mall. And, even at night, look at the way it glistens in, kind of the DC skyline. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. It's projected to be $3 billion, though. So it's going to be very, very expensive. But just look at that thing, man. It looks like it's worth $3 billion. That looks like an Olympic type of stadium right there. And I would certainly love to watch some Washington Commanders football games in the future. So very exciting things happening here at the Washington Commanders, man. The future is extremely bright, not only on the field, but also off of it. It does seem like that the Commanders name and logo is probably here to stay. But hey, at least that name and logo is associated with winning now because of Dan Quinn and Jayden Daniels. So I'm extremely excited for the future here on the Commanders Report, covering this football team with you guys. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I greatly appreciate you guys sticking with me here to the end of today's show. Got a bunch of great Commanders content coming your way all throughout the 2025 offseason. So if you don't want to miss any of that, click that subscribe button right now. And until next time, hail to the Commanders. First segment in the books, and a first-time Super Chatter from Bruce Freeman. Let's give him some Ric Flair drip. Woo! 13 buckaroos from Bruce Everybody spam those Bruces in the chat. Bruce, 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 Bruce. Let's go, man.
It's like anytime there's a guy on a team that has an ooh name and everybody goes Bruce.
Bruce. And by the way, now we are getting close to the first gummy, the first gummy bear Jello shot here. So I think we're $6 away from our first gummy bear shot of the day. So somebody sends in another 10, somebody sends in a 5, and somebody else sends in a 1. It's time to get lit here on the Commanders Report. $50. We'll do 10 push-ups for every $50 we make today. $100 total by the end of the mailbag. We'll add 15 minutes to the show to talk some Commanders football with you guys. And then $200 total today. I will drink a boot from a big glass boot. The Das boot that we have here at Chat Sports. If we get the $200 total today, I will drink a boot to finish out today's show. So we greatly appreciate your guys' support, man. We do have the mailbag coming up later in the show, so make sure you get your questions in. #Commanders down there in the comments section if you want to get on the show today. And then also, if you want to guarantee your question gets on the show, because we get a lot of questions here, Joey, and we can't get everybody's question in most weeks. So if you want to guarantee your question gets on, you have to super chat. Even if you just send in a $1 super chat, though, we can get your question in on the show. So we greatly appreciate your support. Hopefully we can get to that first $20 mark at the end of this next segment here. But Joey, give some shout-outs in the chat here while I rehydrate.
Let's do it. We got Bruce Freeman still in here. We got Billy Everett Jr., Tommy T, Richard Barker, Tyler Costello. We got Sean 21 Taylor. We got a ton of people giving love to Bruce. Shout out to you. Jasmine Gray's here. Just as always, it looks like Tyler Costello's saying Bird Gang. We might have been infiltrated by the enemy today, Mr. Jack Sperry.
Absolutely. Let's get into the next segment right now, which is, what is our next? Oh, we got the salary cap video up next. This is going to be a fun one, guys. You're going to enjoy this. Let's get into our next segment today. What's that, Joey? It is round 3. You got it? Sounds good. So Joey's just putting some finishing touches here, but I see Big E in the chat. I see Mark Anderson is in the house. Got Sean Taylor in here. Tim is here. Tyler Costello. Oh, he's saying Bird Gang with an Eagles emoji in there. Boo, Eagles. Got Richard Barker. We got Tommy T. Bruce Freeman. What's up, Bruce? JG. JG says stadium design needs more burgundy and gold. I kind of disagree. I love the all glass kind of look.
Yeah, all glass and like white, silver. Those things are classic. Those are going to last forever.
Yeah, and I think that you can always decorate the stadium in whatever colors, right? Like you look at US Bank Stadium, for example, in Minnesota. They don't have like purple and gold. They decorated it up a little bit during the Vikings season.
Well, yeah, and you also got to worry about it. You know what? It's a massive thing in the middle of your city. The mayor doesn't want there to be a big burgundy and gold. It looks a little sleeker if it's glass white.
Yeah, I think that the new glass facades that you see with all these new stadiums, I think they look really good, and I think if that ends up being the stadium and that's what ends up getting approved, I think I'll be very happy with it. All right, let's get into the next segment here. Cap space news, and it's definitely good news here on the Commanders Report, so let's get into it right now. The Washington Commanders just got some great news from the National Football League that's going to allow GM Adam Peters to cook during the 2025 NFL offseason. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are pumped for the start of NFL free agency, the Commanders have a ton of cap space to use to re-sign former players, to bring in new players, to trade for players. I can't wait to see the moves that this team's going to make this offseason. If you're with me on that, make sure you click that thumbs up icon and help out today's show. So, today's big news, and it is good news for this team, man, because it's going to lead to even more salary cap for this football team in 2025. The NFL announced today that they are increasing the salary cap by even more than what was projected, and it is really about to explode over the next half decade, guys. You take a look at the salary cap by year in the National Football League, and it increases like $20 million every single season. And every year, it gets the gap between where it was and where it's going increases year over year by like $30 million. It's absolutely crazy. And this year they announced today it's going to be somewhere in the range of $277 to $281 million. Dan Graziano from ESPN reported today. The NFL Today informed teams that the 2025 per-team salary cap will fall in the range of $277.5 million to $281.5 million, way up from last year's $255.4 million. Cap will have increased by more than $53 million over the last 2 years. So not only is the salary cap going up, which increases the amount of cap space that the Commanders have at their disposal, but I thought a really good point was put out on X today by NFL YouTuber Brett Coleman. And by the way, if you don't follow Brett, he does great work over on his channel. I highly recommend you check him out. This is what he had to say on his X account today regarding the salary cap and why it's going to get even bigger in the years to come. He says, this means NFL ratings, in particular from Sunday Ticket on YouTube, are going to be more accurately measured, and that numbers is going to be way bigger than you think because just how many Gen Z and millennials consume football on streaming services. The salary cap is going to explode again, and it's all because of this change and how Nielsen measures ratings. Starting this year, they are leaning into using data directly from smart TV manufacturers to measure viewing habits in addition to the traditional at-home panel method. More accurate ratings means the league's next broadcast rights negotiation in 2028-2029 is going to be way more expensive, which ultimately means massive jumps in the salary cap. If I'm a GM, that means next year, or maybe even this year, I can sign some truly outrageously backloaded deals with a ton of funny money that all slams home in 2030 and not even care about the math. So essentially what Brett is laying out here and what this means is that Washington not only has a ton of cap space to use on free agents and on trades this offseason, but they can also sign these guys to deals that are super backloaded so they have lower cap hits in the short term, and then by the time that the new broadcasting deal comes in and this salary cap goes absolutely bananas, that cap hit's not even going to be that bad. So I actually think that this is going to allow Adam Peters to maximize this offseason, fill this roster up with as many good talent as he can, and try to get this team in a position to win Super Bowls while Jaden Daniels is still on an affordable rookie contract. You take a look here at the current cap space for the Washington Commanders as it stands right now with the current projections, and they currently project the Commanders will have $82,210,668 to spend this year, but because there's certain cap things that they need to take care of, NFL draft picks, all that stuff, their quote-unquote effective cap space, so essentially the money that they have at their disposal to spend on veterans, both via trade and in free agency, is about $75.4 million, which is obviously a lot to spend, and it's very, very high up there in terms of NFL teams and the cap space that they're going to have at their disposal here in 2025. And this isn't even counting some of the cuts that the team might make this year. Here's some options that the Commanders have at their disposal. They could cut Andrew Wiley, somebody that hasn't really been a good player for this team the last 2 years. You could save $7.75 million by letting him go, and that gets you over 80 right there. Then you get to Percy Butler, who's a backup safety for this team. You can save $3.32 million by letting him go. And then Chris Paul, who's a backup guard, you can save about $1 million if you let him go as well. So this team can certainly get up there in terms of the kind of cap space that they can create. And this isn't even counting the restructures that they can potentially do this offseason with certain players on long-term contracts as well. So I think that Adam Peters is probably going to go nuts this offseason, guys. And, it's not just because you have a ton of cap space. It's also because with the new broadcasting deal coming up in the short-term future, like he can really plan on backloading some of these deals so that he can get a lot, and I mean a lot, of really good talent on this football team. And in terms of the interest, with Jaden Daniels on his rookie contract, that if you're a veteran player, you want to go try and win a Super Bowl, Washington is definitely a hot place to go right now to try and hoist the Lombardi Trophy if that's what your goal is in your career right now. You take a look at the Commanders' 2025 team needs, and there's no bones about it here, guys. Like, they have a lot of needs. They have a lot to address this year. They have a lot of free agents that they have to make decisions on. They need to make a decision at offensive tackle, edge rusher, wide receiver, corner, offensive guard, inside linebacker, strong safety, tight end, running back, kicker, and punter. All these positions, all 11 of these positions right here need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed with starting caliber players. Now, the good news is the Commanders have the cap space to be able to get players at each and every one of these positions, but they do need to be smart about the way that they go about it. And, if I learned anything about Mr. Adam Peters in his first year as this team's GM, I know that he is going to be extremely calculated with the way he uses these funds. And, I think that right now, with the kind of cap space that you have at your disposal, along with the cap that you can still create with the restructures and the cuts that are still at your disposal as well, I think that this is going to be an offseason of epic proportions here on the Commanders Report that I just simply cannot wait to cover with you guys, because I think they're going to make multiple big-time trades. I think that they're going to go out in free agency and really be aggressive. I think there's going to be a lot of veteran players that want to come to the Washington Commanders, and when was the last time you could say that about this franchise, man? And they did it after just one really successful season, getting Dan Quinn, getting Jaden Daniels, and having the success that they had going to the NFC Championship game in just Jaden's rookie season. I mean, right now it feels like that this team is the hot team to go to if you are an NFL free agent. And because of all the different stuff that we talked about today, I think the Commanders are going to have one of, if not the best off seasons of any team in the National Football League here in 2025. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. We know that big moves are coming here, guys, but what will be the biggest move that Adam Peters pulls off this offseason? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. For my money, I think they're going to land Myles Garrett. I think that that's going to be a move that absolutely changes everything on the defensive side of the ball here in Washington. It's going to have a similar impact to the defensive side that Jaden Daniels and adding his presence to the offense had on that side of the ball last year. I think it's going to make this a more complete football team. I think that they're going to probably trade 2 first-round picks to go get him, and they're going to give him an insane new contract. But I think it's going to be worth every penny, especially if the Commanders hoist the Lombardi Trophy in the near future. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate all of your guys' support. We got more Commanders content coming your way all throughout the offseason. Every time they make a big move, and trust me, those big moves are coming this offseason, guys, we're going to have live coverage for you, breaking it all down right here on the Commanders Report. So for the most extensive Commanders coverage anywhere on YouTube this offseason, make sure you click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, second segment in the books here. Still got the Commanders mock draft, and we still have the Q&A coming up. Got over 360 people watching live right now, Joey, which is great. So make sure you guys get those questions in if you haven't already. Hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on the show.
Let me check how we're doing questions-wise.
All right, Joey's going to check on how many questions we have right now.
We've got not a ton. We've got 5.
We have 5 questions. Usually we want around 7 at least.
Yeah. So, Jay, you ask a phenomenal question. Could we see Jay Bosa and Garrett on this D-line? Great question. Just ask it again. Use hashtag Commanders. Okay, we got a ton of you guys in this chat. I know a ton of you guys have great questions that you want Jack Sperry to answer. This is your time to get on today's channel or to get on today's show to get your questions answered. So everybody, I need a question from everyone in the chat right now. Give me those hashtag Commanders. Ask your questions after, just like your boy Football Elite just did.
If you want a question on the show, today's your opportunity to do so. Hashtag Commanders, the draft, trade, free agency, cap space. If you got any question at all surrounding this football team, I'm here to answer your questions, guys. This is what the mailbags are for. So if you have something that you want to say on the show today, you want to get on the program, you can do it for free today by using hashtag Commanders, or if you want to guarantee your spot, you guys can super chat as well. We are still $6 away from our first Jell-O shot today.
We're close, man. We're real close.
But we're close, so let's get it going right now. If someone wants to put in a $10 super chat, we'll do some of the Gummy Bear jelly shots for you And then if we get to $50, then I'm doing push-ups, all right? And then things start to get serious here on the Commanders Report. So if you guys want to send in those donation dollars, we greatly appreciate your support. If not, no worries. We're here to talk about Commanders football. And speaking of talking about Commanders football, this is a great video right here. The first 7-round mock draft for your Washington Commanders from me, your host. It's coming at you right now. Today is one of my favorite videos that we get to do throughout the entire NFL schedule, guys, here on the Commanders Report, and that is my first 7-round Commanders mock draft of the 2025 draft season. You know, we usually do about 7, 8, 9 mock drafts on this channel every draft season, but the first one, you know, there's always something special about getting that first one out of the way here. So today, all 7 rounds, I've got picks, no trades for the Commanders today, just going to go straight chalk, letting you guys know the players in each round that I would love to get if I were the GM of the Washington Commanders. Before we get into the content today, don't miss a mock draft this year. We're releasing one every single week here on the Commanders Report, so make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already to see our weekly 7-round Commanders mocks. So you guys always know the players that I think the Commanders should be targeting in every round of the NFL draft this year. So we'll start in round 1 here, and I'm going to address trenches here. Either left or right tackle, depending on what they do in free agency. I'm going to go Josh Conerly Jr., offensive tackle out of Oregon. Now, I think that, you know, offensive tackle is a position that's a very high position value type of position. And, you know, I think that there's going to be multiple people that go pretty early at this position, as they usually do, but I think Conerly has a chance to be there late round 1 for the Washington Commanders. And what I love about Conerly and what really draws me to him is his pass protection technique. He has great footwork. He's a great athlete. He can handle speed rushers on the edge. He's really good in terms of his hand placement as well. And, you know, something that really draws me to him, and specifically the athleticism, is that he's so good at getting out in space as a blocker on wide receiver screens. What does Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator here in Washington, love to do, guys? We know it. On early downs, they throw screens a ton. And Conerly's the type of guy either at left or right tackle that can get out there and be an absolute menace out there, taking on, you know, the nickel defenders and corners that get in the way, and he can just pancake them. That's what I love about him. He's super intelligent player as well, picks up stunts. He's got good arm length, so he can handle the finesse moves from edge rushers as well. Now, he is a little bit undersized, 6'4", 315. That's not necessarily the size that you want. You want him to get a little bit more size than that. His anchor strength isn't necessarily what you want to see. Can get bullied. If you guys saw Mike Green, one of the top edge rushers in this class, ran his ass over at the Senior Bowl this year in the practices. So he's not the most powerful player in the world, but I don't think that, you know, in this type of offense where you're going to be throwing the football a lot, you necessarily need to be the most powerful player out there. I think that he certainly has room to grow in that frame. He is 6'4", so I think that, you know, he absolutely has that room to grow into his frame and build some more weight this offseason and in future seasons. And I think that he's going to be so good coming into the league. He's already at a pro level in terms of his technique, and I would love for him to be a member of this offensive line moving forward. So who's your pick? Let me know down there in the comments section. Who do you want the Commanders to draft in round 1 this year? There's a lot of players I'd want them to draft. I tried to keep this relatively realistic. I think Conerly has a chance to make it there. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know who you want the Commanders to take in round 1. Second round here, I'm going to go Landon Jackson, run defense specialist, edge rusher out of Arkansas. And, you know, Jackson, I think that he's got the perfect build for what Dan Quinn wants to do. And I'm assuming here, and I'm kind of hoping, that the Commanders get Myles Garrett to be kind of their pass rush specialist. I want Landon Jackson to take on kind of the Cleveland Ferrell role, where he's like a bigger defensive end who specializes in run defense. He's 280 pounds at 6'7", so he's a big body, super strong, great power, great arm length. He sets the edge better than just about any other edge rusher in this draft, and he plays with a great motor. And those are the things I think Dan Quinn is really going to fall in love with. He does have tight hips. He's not the greatest, fluid athlete in the world. He doesn't have the best get off, so he's not going to win with speed or anything like that. He is 6'7", so he can get the pad level can get inconsistent, but he's so damn strong. Most of the time, it doesn't even matter. So I do think he's a day 2 guy because I don't know if he has the pass rushing upside as some of the other top edge rushers in this class. But in terms of what the Commanders need, they need to get better on run defense, man. And Landon Jackson is arguably the best run defending edge rusher in the entire class this year, and they will help them stop Saquon Barkley in years to come, and that has to be priority number 1 for the Commanders moving forward. Then in round 3, I'm going to have them take a corner here, and somebody that some people even have being mocked in round 1, and that's Jaire Thomas, the corner out of Florida State. Now, the Seminoles play a lot of man coverage and a lot of press coverage, more than any other team in college football. So he's definitely got a lot of experience playing in that style of offense, and he thrives in that style of defense, guys, where he's in the face of people. He's trying to bully them. He's using his long arms and his strength to his advantage. He's also a great athlete with really fluid hips, so he can stay in phase with any wide receiver out there. He's got really good zone instincts as well. Now, the 2 cons I have on him is his short area quickness isn't phenomenal, and then he does have limited reps at the position. He used to be an offensive player, so he's still kind of new to the position, but he's got a great physical profile for it. I think he's a late round 1, early round 2 grade, but right now Pro Football Focus's big board allowed me to take Jaire Thomas here in round 3, so I'm taking that every day of the week. He's a perfect scheme fit for what Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn want. He's a perfect stylistic fit for what they like, and I think that he's got a sky-high ceiling here. So if there's any way he's here for the Commanders in round 3, I think they got to pull the trigger. Then in round 4, I'm going to go wide receiver here, Jalen Knoll out of Iowa State. I currently have Knoll ranked 10th on my big board of wide receivers, my positional rankings. By the way, those positional rankings are on our NFL Draft channel here at Chat Sports, so you can check that out if you want. But Knoll is certainly somebody that I really like as a player. All right, I have a round 3 grade on him because he doesn't have great size or a great catch radius. He's not going to be a run blocker. He's not going to be a number 1 in the league, but I think that he is a true vertical deep threat on day 1 in the National Football League. Really good route runner, stacks defenders well. He's got great long speed. He's a phenomenal route runner. Great technique in his route running. Uses his feet and the head fakes and all these different things. Great technique getting open against man. The acceleration is really good. And he can make tough catches over the middle of the field and deep as well. Can really track the football. He's not a perfect wide receiver, but I think as a deep threat from the slot, I think he's going to be a really good player, man. And I think that the Commanders just can't have enough players like this that can win deep, especially with a guy like Jaden Daniels, who has a terrific deep ball. I think that Jalen Knoll is somebody that's going to come into the league and be somebody that's going to be a problem. I compare him to Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers, somebody that maybe isn't like a true number 1, but he can create explosive plays pretty consistently for the offense that he's playing for. I have him currently ranked as my number 10 wide receiver in the class, and I'd love for him to fall to the Commanders here in round 4. Now, before we get into the day or the more day 3 picks here, some of the sleepers I have for you guys today, make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already for more Commanders mock drafts. If you want more draft content here on the channel, you got to let me know by giving me those likes, all right? The more you guys like the videos, the more that tells me that that's the kind of content that you want on this channel. So if you love these mock drafts, you love the draft content, you want more of it, click that thumbs up icon right now. In round 6, I'm going to take a kind of a run-defending defensive tackle here in C.J. West out of Indiana. Not much pass rushing upside with West, but I was very impressed with C.J.'s ability to stuff the run, take on double teams, that sort of stuff in Shrine Bowl practices this year here in Arlington, Texas. I think that he is somebody that is kind of a day 3 guy, could go, and he can be a good rotational run stuffer on early downs for an NFL team on day 1. So I do think that in a loaded defensive tackle class, some of these guys are going to fall. And, I think you're going to be able to get a pretty decent player here at the top of round 6. So I think C.J. West would be an absolute home run here in round 6. I think he's a good player, a little bit limited in terms of his upside, but I think for what the Commanders would be asking him to do, I think it would definitely be a good fit. Then in round 7, how about Kyren Lacy? Now, I know Lacy is dealing with a little bit of legal trouble right now, and that's certainly something that needs to be ironed out. But right now, Pro Football Focus has him ranked, I think, as like the 240th overall prospect on their big board, which means a 7th-round value here. And Kyren Lacy had a great season with Jaden Daniels, along with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. and Daniels' Heisman Trophy winning season. If Lacy is going to, behave himself anywhere in the National Football League, I think it would be here in Washington playing for his man, Jaden Daniels. So you would be adding somebody here in the 7th round that some people were projecting on like day 2 just a couple of months ago. So I think that this is something that could absolutely work. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that need to be ironed out with him, with his situation legally. But I just think, if he does end up making it here to round 7, I mean, who else are you going to get better here in round 7 than Kyren frickin' Lacy? This is a good football player here, so I think it's worth the dart throw. Then in round 7, I'm going to go Thomas Perry, the interior lineman out of Millbury. I actually picked him in my perfect Commanders offseason as well. And I think Perry is going to be a very interesting player for me. He was my biggest winner at Shrine Bowl practices this year. Comes from a Division III school, so nobody heard of him. And he was taking on like Georgia and like SEC level defensive tackles with ease at the Shrine Bowl, man. It was really impressive to watch at center and at guard. Obviously this is a team here at the Commanders that needs help along the interior of the offensive line, especially in terms of depth. I think that Perry can bring that day 1. And hopefully, maybe, just maybe, he can turn into a starter in the league as well. So here is our mock draft haul here for this week's mock. Josh Connerly Jr. in round 1, followed by the run-stuffing extraordinaire edge rusher Landon Jackson, Azariah Thomas, the long physical corner out of Florida State, Jalen Knoll, a slot specialist in round 4, C.J. West, a run-stuffing player there in the middle of the defense. Then you get Kyren Lacy and Thomas Perry in round 7. I really like those two values as sleepers. So grade my mock for me down there in the comment section, guys. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Obviously, I'm giving myself an A+ here because I think this mock is awesome. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more Commanders draft content coming your way just about every single day here on the channel. We are the fastest growing channel, not only on Commanders YouTube, but here at Chat Sports as well, guys. We've added over 7,000 subscribers in just the last month alone. Thank you guys so much for helping this channel reach the heights that it's starting to get to right now. And let's keep it riding right now by you clicking that subscribe button. Until tomorrow, guys, out to the Commanders. All right, Joey, so we got one more segment to go, and it is the mailbag here. So you guys can use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on the show today.
Good news.
Good news. We got more questions?
Hella questions.
Hella questions. All right. We love hella questions.
Hella questions.
But because there was hella questions, that means if you want to guarantee your question gets on the show, you got a Super Chat.
Amen.
So right now we're $6 away from doing a Gummy Bear Jello shot here, courtesy of our friend Avery. And we're what would be $36 away from push-ups?
Yep.
All right, so that's where we're at right now. And if we can get to $100 before the end of this mailbag, guys, we'll stay live for another 15 minutes to just chop it up, talk about whatever you guys want. If that's the case, we'll get that done for you guys. All right, Joey, give some shout-outs to the people in the chat. We got 263 people watching live. Let them know what's up.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thanks so much for tuning in, hanging out with us on this Wednesday. It shows you how good of a fan base you are, because it is February 19th, and we still got 263 people hanging out with us. Of course, JG is here, Josh Walden is here, Ebony Wright, Robin Bjorlin, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Jaden Sports, Charles Humphrey, Michael Jordan's here. Michael freaking Jordan.
His airness is here.
Jim, I'm him. We've got Gregory Pett, your boy Football Elite, Alejandro Martyr, T-Rose. We got all the real ones in the chat hanging out with us today. Appreciate every single one of you guys.
Perfect, man. We got hella questions coming in right now. So if you want to make sure your question gets on, you guys can always super chat and help us get closer to 100. so that we can extend the show by 15 minutes. But without further ado, let's get into the mailbag right now. Let's see what you guys got for me here on the Commanders Report live Q&A here on a Wednesday. It's my favorite segment of the week here on the Commanders Report. It is the mailbag segment here on the Commanders Report where I get to answer your questions. And, most of the time I'm just sitting at my desk here at Chat Sports wondering what you guys want me to talk about today. That load gets taken off my shoulder a little bit today because you get to tell me what you want me to talk about on today's edition of the Commanders Report. We're going to be talking draft, trade, free agency, cap space, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm game. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. But first, make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we try to give you guys the most interactive fan community here on the Commanders Report than you're going to get anywhere else on Commanders YouTube. We put out daily community posts for you guys to engage with. We put out daily videos, and we engage with your comments. And then also we do these live shows every single Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where you guys get your opportunity to get your questions on the show. So we really do appreciate all of your guys' support. So if you want a place to talk Commanders football with your fellow Commanders fans, this is the place for you. I highly implore you guys to click that subscribe button right now and join our family today. We got one from Ebony, right? Thank you so much, Ebony. Says, do you think we will get Myles Garrett? I sure hope so, Ebony. I think that it's certainly a possibility. The Commanders have the cap space to give him the contract that he wants. Obviously, the Commanders are in a position to win, which is really what he wants. That's the reason why he wants out of the Cleveland Browns, because he doesn't feel like they're in a position to win. The Commanders certainly are, with Jaden Daniels, a superstar quarterback, on a rookie contract for the next 4 seasons. So that's going to allow Garrett to not only make his money, but also play with a great quarterback and have a chance to win Super Bowls. So I think that it's a match made in heaven. Just a matter of, if the Commanders can come to a deal. I think it's going to cost at least 2 first-round picks to make it happen. But if you ask me, I think it's more than worth it, because you're not going to be spending those first-rounders on a quarterback, for example. So might as well get a player here that's going to be as impactful as any defensive player that you could possibly draft with those 2 first-rounders. All right, so I think it's more than worth the price. I think he's worth the contract. Personally, I would be sending the house to go get Myles Garrett. Then we got one from your boy Football Elite. What's up, my man? Says, which running back do you like in this draft? I like a lot of running backs in this draft, man. There's a lot of them. I really like R.J. Harvey out of UCF. I like Devin Neal out of Kansas. Obviously, I like the top guys. Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton are unbelievably good. Also, Cam Scadaboo is fun. Caleb Johnson is a great zone runner. There's a lot of really good players in this draft, and I'm really excited to see if the Commanders take one, and if they do, where they take one. Personally, I would probably lean towards more day 3, try to just take a flyer on somebody, because Jaden, let's face it, is going to be the face of the offense. You don't have to spend a super high draft pick on a running back. Plus, it's a great running back class. You can get a steal in the later rounds. So it'll be interesting to see who falls, and if Adam Peters pulls the trigger on one of those kind of sleeper-type running backs this year. Then we've gone from Gregory Pett. What's up, Greg? Says, now with T gone, what's the next wide receiver we go after? It could be Cooper Kupp. I kind of like the idea of Deebo Samuel, because Cliff Kingsbury likes to put people kind of close to Jaden with kind of these 2 type of running back sets. He likes to get creative with that. He likes to get creative with certain orbit motions. And, of course, we know how much Cliff loves to run wide receiver screens early downs. So I think that Deebo is kind of the chess piece that could really work in the Commanders' offense at this point in his career. And I really think that would be something that I would love to see. But Cooper Kupp is certainly somebody that could work if they could figure something out with his contract, not have to pay him $20 million against the cap next year. Also, Chris Godwin, I think, would be an excellent fit in free agency. Another guy that would probably cost $20 million on the open market, maybe even more than that. But I think Godwin came off an incredible season last year before he dislocated his knee. So I think it's certainly worth the risk to bring in a guy like Godwin, who is a consummate pro. I would say those 3 guys are guys to keep your eye on at this point. Now, shout out your guy down there in the comments section. Name a wide receiver that you want the Commanders to pursue in 2025. Let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by naming a wide receiver you want to go get this offseason. Got one coming in from my man, Gary. Love that profile picture, Gary. We got, how well do you think opposing defenses will adapt to JD5? Honestly, not well, because it's so hard to play Jaden, man. It really is. Because he can just beat you in so many different ways. With the VR technology, he's one of the most intelligent quarterbacks in the National Football League already. He knows what the defense is trying to do to him because he's already seen that defense all week. And he's just used to seeing it at like 2 times the speed that it is in an actual game. So I love what Jaden does with his mind, but obviously he's got great arm talent, phenomenal deep ball, super fluid and quick release. So as a passer and within structure, he's phenomenal. But as we saw this past year, he's one of the best out-of-structure playmakers in the game as well. Phenomenal throwing on the run. And then obviously what he does with his legs is absolutely dynamic. And, there's just certain guys in the league that are, if you put good players and a good scheme around them, they are borderline unstoppable. You look at Patrick Mahomes, you look at Josh Allen, you look at Lamar Jackson, and what the kind of numbers and the kinds of things that they're able to do with competent surrounding casts. I think that Jaden Daniels is the same way. And I think that, this is an offensive league. And as long as you got an elite offense, you can pretty much, enforce your will on an opposing team. So, I honestly think that Jaden, if anything, is going to even get a little bit better next year with yet another offseason working with the VR technology, another offseason working with his guys. I'm really excited about Jaden's sophomore season. And right now, he might be my favorite to win MVP of the league. Then we got Vern Herman. Says, will Ben Sinnott get used more this year? I certainly hope so. I liked him coming out. He's a good route runner, good athlete. Now, he's got short arms, and he doesn't have the biggest catch radius in the world for a tight end. But, it's going to come down a little bit to if they bring back Zach Ertz, which I think that they will. So I think Sinnott will get another year of kind of being a number 2 tight end. But we'll see what happens there. If they don't bring back Ertz, it's certainly Sinnott's job to lose. It'll be interesting to see if they draft a tight end. It's a great tight end class. So they could certainly draft another tight end to pair with Sinnott, but I would certainly hope so, and I would certainly guess that heading into year 2 of his NFL career, he's going to get a little bit more work. Then we got one from Jay. Says, Joey Bosa is rumored to be released at 29 years old, just like Garrett. What would he cost? Not as much as Garrett, obviously. Joey has dealt with a lot of injuries. He hasn't been as productive, not nearly as productive as Garrett. So I think that Bosa, maybe $20 million per season, something around that range. Now, it's going to be tough to determine that just because of the cap number going up. He is a former very high draft pick. He is still very talented. So he's certainly an option. But honestly, I think I'd rather have Khalil Mack more than Joey Bosa at this point. I think Mack is a slightly better fit for the defense that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. want to run here in Washington. So honestly, Bosa's not even, I would even say he might be borderline top 5 on my list of edge rushers at this point, just because of the injuries, the lack of consistency. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. I'd love to have him here, but I think there's other edge rushers I'd rather have for sure. Make sure you guys check out our friends at Fanatics, where you guys can get an awesome deal on a brand new Commanders t-shirt today when you go to chatsports.com/Commanders shirt. And, the reason why we bring this up, guys, is because if you take our link, chatsports.com/Commanders shirt, and you make a purchase, again, it's on sale, you help out our show, all right? Fanatics sends us part of the proceeds for every single purchase that is made when somebody clicks on our link. So pretty much, guys, it helps us get better equipment. It helps us get better graphics. It helps improve our show. So if you want to help yourself out, get a new Commander shirt, and you want to help us out at the same time, this is your opportunity right now. Fanatics has a great deal. This shirt is on sale right now. So go get it right now, chatsports.com/Commanders shirt to get it done. Got one from Big E, says, take Myles Garrett out. Who are we going for next? I think Stanley, but let me hear the next 3 moves. Next 3 moves. Goodness gracious. The 3 players that I'd love to get outside of Garrett, I would love to get, how about we get Carlton Davis, really good man corner, as your number 2 corner. Let's get Ronnie Stanley to be our left tackle because he has experience protecting mobile quarterbacks. I think that's a skill set that I really cherish. Plus, he's played for really good football teams. We're trying to win now. Then the third thing that I would do is I would go get Chris Godwin. How about we go get Chris Godwin at wide receiver? I think that he's going to come at a discount because he did just dislocate his knee. And, of course, that's going to mean a little bit of risk. But I think Godwin's a hell of a player, man. And I think that he's going to come back with a vengeance next season. And it's not like you're asking Godwin to be your number one guy. He's going to be asked to be your number two guy behind Terry McLaurin. So I really like Godwin's skill set. I would love to get Carlton Davis, really good fit as a man corner, Ronnie Stanley, left tackle, and then Chris Godwin at wide receiver. Those would be the three moves that come to my mind just off the top of my head. Then we got on from Damascus Roberts here. Says, will the Washington Commanders trade for DK Metcalf? It's not impossible, but if I'd have to guess right now, Damascus, I'd say no, because if you trade for DK, you probably have to give up your first-round pick this year, and he's very expensive. So you'd be paying DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin big contracts, all right? So that's two receivers on your team getting paid elite money. Now, maybe the Commanders are okay with that. They certainly have the cap space to make that happen. But it's certainly something to keep in mind where he's going to be expensive in two different ways. You have to give up your first-round pick most likely to get him. And then number two, he's going to be a very expensive cap hit type of player. You might have to give him a new contract as well. So there's possibilities for DK Metcalf in a Washington Commanders uniform. It'd be a lot of fun, I'll tell you that right now. But I would personally think there's other receivers with higher shots of being a Commanders next year. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Should the Commanders trade for DK Metcalf? Type T for trade or P for pass. Just so you know, you have to give up your first-round pick probably to get him. So keep that in mind when you give your answer here. Personally, I'd type my P for pass just because I think there's other opportunities out there for the Commanders that don't involve giving up the first-round pick. Some great questions today, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by the Commanders Report today. My favorite segment of the week, answering your questions. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now because we got more great stuff coming your way all throughout the 2025 offseason. All right, so that is it for today's show. We didn't get any more Super Chats, I don't think, right?
We did not.
And I do not see any Venmos, Cash Apps, or PayPal. So all good, man. We are perfectly fine wrapping up the show right here. But good show this week. I thought we had some good discussions. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about specifically today, Joey? Anything that caught your interest a little bit?
I'm curious your thought because I stepped into the video last week on a little more Myles Garrett trade rumors, and it seems that might be the direction it's heading, and I think he'd be a perfect fit for everything Garrett's looking for and everything Washington needs. If you had to put a percentage chance on it right now, what would you say?
Well, obviously there's going to be other teams that are interested.
Yes.
I think the high percentage for a guy that's going to get so much interest, but 60%?
Okay. I would probably lean somewhere around 45, which is still very high.
Yeah, it's still very high.
Yes.
That's still probably the highest chance of anybody out there. But I just look at all the things that the Commanders need right now, the resources that the Commanders have at their disposal, and then what Garrett is looking for. He's wanting to get paid, and he's looking to go to a contender. There's only a certain amount of teams that can fit both of those criteria. Commanders are one of them.
Yeah.
So, I think Detroit will be probably in the mix.
Think Chicago as well, or no?
I don't know about Chicago. We'll see about Chicago. But, I just think that I just think it's a perfect piece. If this is a puzzle, all the pieces fit.
Yeah, they do. Both sides.
For both sides. They just fit perfectly. The Commanders have the cap space. They can backload his contract, too, like we discussed in our second segment today. So his cap hit won't even be that big, because you just offload all the money into void years and all this different stuff that kick in when the new broadcasting deal comes in.
The Shohei Ohtani method.
The Shohei Ohtani method, 100%. So you can get great players around him, too. And you still have Jaden Daniels on a super affordable rookie contract, and he's going to be a superstar. So it's I definitely think the future is bright with this football team. I'm so excited for this offseason, guys. We're going to be covering every single bit of it with you guys. Hope you're with us for the entire offseason this year. That'll be it for me and Joey this week here on the Commanders Report. Just so you guys know, I'm actually going to try and push for us to get 2 live shows on this channel during the offseason from now on. I don't know what days. We might go Tuesday, Friday. We might do something. I'm going to communicate with our bosses here. But Joey and I feel like this channel is really taken off here. And we're going to try to go live twice a week. So just keep an eye out for that. I think early next week we'll make an announcement on that, where maybe we're going to be going live twice every single week from now on. So wouldn't that be fun, Joey?
Bring it on, baby.
Bring it on, baby. Let's get it going. It's going to be a great offseason here on the Commanders Report. It's just getting started, so click that subscribe button. We'll see you guys next time. Until next time, go raise some hell.